Is the West more dependent on Africa than it dares to admit? A wave of African nations is rewriting the rules, tightening control over their own resources, and suddenly the global power dynamic is shifting, fast. For the first time in generations, it's not Africa scrambling to keep pace. It's the West feeling the squeeze. The question is, what's their game plan now? And who's driving this bold new movement? For decades, Western economies thrived on a silent bargain. Africa would endlessly supply cheap raw materials, oil, gold, uranium, lithium, the hidden fuel behind factories, smartphones, electric cars, and military power. Africa's wealth built the world, yet its people were left with scraps. But now, Africa is drawing the line. 10 nations and counting are slamming restrictions on raw exports, choosing instead to refine, build, and grow industries at home. They're no longer just suppliers, they're becoming competitors. And the shockwaves are rattling global markets. This is bigger than trade, this is sovereignty. Africa is no longer letting outsiders dictate the terms of its future. Leaders are deciding where their resources flow, how they're used, and above all, who reaps the benefit. For too long, raw riches left the continent cheap, only to return as expensive products. That era is ending. A new Africa is rising, and the world is being forced to adjust. For decades, Africa's wealth flowed out while real power stayed elsewhere. That cycle kept nations dependent, stunted their growth, and stripped them of economic strength. But the script is flipping. A new set of export rules has sent a thunderous message. Africa will no longer be the world's passive supplier. This is a turning point not just for Africa, but for the entire global economy, and the world is paying attention. Take Ghana. Long celebrated as one of Africa's top gold producers, it's no longer just digging for others, it's rewriting the rules. In a bold move, Ghana now demands that mining companies sell 20% of all refined gold directly to its central bank. The goal? To build its own reserves and slash its reliance on foreign currencies. That reliance has left Ghana vulnerable time and again to global financial shocks. But now, the nation is protecting itself and reclaiming power. For years, Ghana's gold left the soil raw and undervalued, with foreign corporations pocketing the real profits after refining. Those days are ending. New rules require part of that gold to be refined within Ghana itself, keeping more value at home, where it belongs. But this is about more than economics. It's a direct challenge to a global system that has long treated African resources as open for the taking. And Ghana is asking the question out loud, why should a land so rich in gold have to rely on the dollar or the euro to stabilize its future? Now, Ghana isn't just asking, it's answering with action. For decades, Western industries, especially in jewelry and electronics, made fortunes off Ghana's gold, often bought at prices far below its true value. But now, with Ghana tightening control, the ripple effect is undeniable. Gold is climbing in price, profit margins are shrinking, and global suppliers are feeling the squeeze. The message couldn't be clearer. The era of cheap, unprotected African resources is over. Ghana is no longer content to play the role of supplier. It's stepping onto the stage as a power with leverage. Its gold is no longer a giveaway. It's the backbone of economic independence, growth, and national pride. And this is bigger than Ghana. It's a signal to Africa and to the world that the rules of the game are changing. Uganda is proof. Back in 2021, in a move that shocked the global coffee industry, Uganda banned the export of raw agricultural products, including coffee and tea. Why? Because as one of the world's top coffee producers, Uganda was tired of being shortchanged. For decades, its farmers harvested the beans, but the real profits went to foreign companies who bought them cheap, refined them abroad, and sold them back at a premium. Uganda said, enough. Today, the country is pouring its energy into exporting processed coffee, roasted, packaged, and ready for shelves. Not just raw beans. This transformation is about more than economics. It's about dignity, fairness, and control. By building its own coffee processing industry, Uganda is creating jobs, raising incomes, and keeping the wealth of its land where it belongs, at home. Why should Ugandan farmers do the hard work while foreign corporations walk away with the fortune? That question lies at the heart of Uganda's new policy, and the answer is rewriting the rules. For decades, Western coffee giants thrived on buying raw beans dirt cheap. Now, they face a new reality: pay more for value-added Ugandan coffee, or scramble to find alternatives. Either way, the wake-up call has arrived. This isn't just business, it's a power move. By climbing the value chain, Uganda is building a stronger, more resilient economy, one that won't be whiplashed by global commodity swings. It's no longer a silent supplier propping up someone else's success. Uganda is stepping into the market as a full-fledged player in its own right. This shift shatters the old narrative that Africa's role is simply to provide raw materials, while others reap the wealth. Uganda is flipping the script, proving that African nations can own their resources, process them, profit from them, and lead. So, the next time you sip your morning coffee, remember, Uganda isn't just growing beans, it's growing power, growing independence, and changing the very rules of global trade. And we're only getting started. If you're enjoying this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of Black culture, history, and the bold moves shaping the future. Now, let's move to the next chapter. Gabon's timber takeover, turning logs into leverage. Back in 2010, Gabon made a daring choice that rewrote the playbook on resource management. It banned the export of raw logs. At first glance, it looked like just another trade policy, but beneath the surface, Gabon's decision was nothing less than a declaration of independence. For decades, Gabon's vast forests fueled industries across Europe and Asia. Raw logs were shipped out by the ton, only to return as polished furniture, luxury flooring, and high-end wood products, while the real profits filled foreign pockets. Gabon finally asked the question no one wanted to hear. If our timber can build European wealth, why can't it build ours too? And then it acted. No more exporting raw logs. The nation flipped the script. Timber would now be processed at home, refined, shaped, and transformed into finished products before leaving Gabon's shores. The results were immediate. New industries rose: furniture making, carpentry, and wood manufacturing, sparking jobs, boosting local incomes, and diversifying the economy. Gabon was no longer chained to raw exports. Meanwhile, European companies that once thrived on cheap Gabonese logs were forced to rethink everything. Now, they had two choices: pay more for Gabon's value-added wood products, or scramble to find alternatives. Either way, Gabon was no longer the silent supplier. It was the one setting the terms. This wasn't just smart economics. It was economic justice, a message to the world. Gabon will no longer serve as a raw material warehouse for foreign convenience. The value of its resources will stay where they belong, at home. Other African nations are taking note. Gabon's success proves that controlling and processing your own resources isn't just possible, it's profitable, it's powerful, and it's deeply political. It tells the world that Africa is not here to make others rich at its expense. From now on, Africa sets the rules. In short, Gabon transformed its forests from an export pipeline into a pillar of national development. That wasn't just smart policy, it was a power move. And now, the same spirit of defiance has reached Niger. Chapter 4. Niger's uranium. Wake-up call, turning the tables on France's energy dependence. After a seismic political shift, Niger made a move that rattled Europe to its core, placing heavy restrictions on uranium exports, with Paris directly in the crosshairs. This was no minor trade adjustment, it was a thunderclap. For decades, France's nuclear grid, nearly 70% of its electricity, has quietly depended on uranium dug from Niger's soil. But here's the truth: that uranium was sold for dirt cheap, with the lion's share of profits pocketed in France, while Niger, one of the world's top uranium producers, remained one of the world's poorest nations. That deal is dead. As uranium prices climb, Niger's new stance sends an unmistakable message: no more giveaways, no more being taken for granted. If France truly calls itself energy independent, then why is it panicking? The answer is uncomfortable, because it never really was. Its so-called independence ran straight through Niger's minds. Now, France faces rising costs, shrinking supplies, and the specter of an energy crisis. And Niger? It's no longer the silent supplier. This isn't just about money. It's about power, dignity, and ownership. By taking control of its uranium, Niger is rewriting the rules. Its message to the West is simple and direct. You want our resources? Then come correct. No more lopsided deals, no more silence. For too long, Europe built its energy stability on the assumption that African nations would never push back. That era is over. Niger's move has reshaped the global energy game, proving that Africa is not just a source, it is a force. And France's scramble to adapt exposes just how deep the West's dependency truly runs, no matter how much it tried to deny it. This isn't just policy. This is a power shift. Niger just flipped the switch. Chapter 5. Guinea's Food. First Policy. No more feeding the world while its own people go hungry. As global food prices soar, Guinea has delivered a game-changing decision, a ban on the export of key staples like rice, maize, and yams. Not for profit, but for protection. For years, Guinea's farmlands filled markets abroad, feeding tables in wealthier nations, while at home, families faced empty shelves and skyrocketing prices. The contradiction became impossible to ignore. Why should Guineans struggle to eat while their harvests sail away on ships bound for foreign ports? Now, Guinea has drawn the line. The message is clear: our people come first. This isn't a rash response to global price shocks. It's a long overdue correction. By reclaiming its food sovereignty, Guinea is making sure that in times of uncertainty, its citizens are fed before foreign markets are served. And the ripple effect is spreading. Western importers, long reliant on cheap African agriculture, are suddenly facing tighter supplies, higher costs, and the sobering reality that Africa will no longer play the world's pantry at its own expense. Guinea's move isn't about isolation, it's about responsibility, resilience, and respect. It's about restoring dignity to a nation that refuses to see its people go hungry while feeding others. Guinea has made its position crystal clear. Our crops are not just commodities, they are lifelines, and they belong to us first. It's a bold stance, and a necessary one, because true independence isn't only about flags or borders. It's about feeding your people, fueling your own economy, and making decisions that put national well-being above foreign convenience. Guinea just took that step. Now, the world is watching. Who's next? Chapter 6. Mozambique's timber power move, from log supplier to value creator. In 2017, Mozambique drew its own line in the sand. No more exporting raw logs. Like Gabon before it, the country declared that its timber would no longer leave the land unprocessed. From now on, it would be refined at home, fueling Mozambique's economy instead of enriching someone else's. For decades, Western companies had enjoyed a sweet deal. Buy cheap raw wood from Mozambique, ship it abroad, and transform it into high-end furniture and luxury products, pocketing the real profits. Mozambique did the labor. Foreign corporations took the rewards. That model is now history. Today, if you want Mozambican timber, you're buying it as a finished product. Furniture, flooring, plywood, all crafted by local hands, built in local factories, and taxed into local budgets. This is more than a new trade rule. It's Mozambique saying loud and clear, we're not just a source, we're a player, and we won't settle for scraps. Some foreign companies are grumbling, faced with higher costs and fewer sourcing options. But, let's be honest, if those same companies claim to care about Africa's development, then this is their moment to prove it. Mozambique's policy is about dignity, self-reliance, and long-term vision. It's about turning natural wealth into national strength. And it's working. Jobs are being created. Local industries are rising. Mozambique is no longer just a supplier of raw goods. It's an active force in the value chain. But this is bigger than one nation. It's part of a continental story, a wave sweeping across Africa. A story where nations are done being taken for granted, done playing the role of silent suppliers, and ready to claim the full value of what they produce. The question now is simple: who will adapt, and who will be left behind? Chapter 7. Namibia flips the script on lithium, and the West never saw it coming. In the global race to power the electric vehicle revolution, lithium has become the new gold. And Namibia just made a move that sent shockwaves through the industry. Instead of watching its lithium disappear overseas, raw, cheap, and undervalued, Namibia hit pause. The government put strict restrictions on lithium exports, declaring, if you want our lithium, you'll invest here, on our terms. The goal is clear: build local processing, create domestic industries, and ensure that Namibia doesn't stand on the sidelines while the green energy economy takes off. The impact? Western tech giants and automakers, long accustomed to easy, low-cost access, suddenly face a hard truth. They have two choices: partner with Namibia and help develop its local industry, or scramble to find alternatives. And here's the twist. If sustainability is truly the West's mission, shouldn't Namibia's stand be celebrated? Shouldn't this be seen as a victory for fairness and balance? Instead, what we're seeing is panic, because Namibia just proved something the world wasn't ready to admit. Africa is no longer waiting to be invited into the future, it's building its own. Western industries weren't ready for this kind of power shift, one where African nations seize control of the very resources that fuel tomorrow's clean tech. But Namibia isn't backing down. By taking charge of its lithium, it's doing more than securing profits. It's rewriting the rules of global resource management. Namibia is saying loud and clear, Africa isn't just a supplier in the clean energy future, it's a partner, a leader. Ready or not, the bar has just been raised. Chapter 8. Ivory Coast breaks free from the cocoa trap. For decades, Ivory Coast, the land of the world's richest cocoa fields, fed the planet's sweet tooth. Yet while Western chocolate giants made billions transforming cocoa into luxury treats, the Ivory Coast was left with crumbs. Not anymore. In a game-changing move, the Ivorian government announced new restrictions on raw cocoa exports. The goal? Keep the cocoa at home, fuel a domestic chocolate industry, and finally claim a bigger slice of the pie. Let's be honest, why should the nation that grows the majority of the world's cocoa remain stuck at the bottom of the chocolate food chain? By limiting raw exports, Ivory Coast is flipping the script. It's no longer just sending crops overseas. It's building factories, creating jobs, and keeping the real value where the cocoa actually grows. The ripple effect is already being felt. Western chocolate brands now face a tough choice: pay more, invest locally, or lose their easy access to raw cocoa they've long taken for granted. This is more than economics. This is about dignity, about respect. Ivory Coast is sending a message to the world. We will no longer sweeten your profits while our people get bitter returns. African nations deserve more than just polite applause for their resources. They deserve power, real power, and a seat at the table where the future is decided. Ivory Coast proved it with cocoa. Now, another giant has entered the stage. Chapter 9. The DRC rewrites the tech game. The Democratic Republic of the Congo isn't just resource-rich. It's the beating heart of the green economy. Sitting on vast reserves of copper and cobalt, this nation holds the keys to the batteries inside electric cars, the circuits of smartphones, and the panels of solar grids. For decades, the world's biggest tech and energy companies quietly siphoned these raw materials away, refined them elsewhere, and sold them back as billion-dollar products. But the game just changed. The DRC has drawn a line in the sand. In a bold declaration, it placed restrictions on raw copper and cobalt exports. Why? Because it's tired of watching foreign industries grow rich while its own communities remain poor. Now, the message is clear. If you want Congolese minerals, you build value here. You process here, you invest here. This isn't just about trade, it's about justice. For too long, one of the most resource-rich nations on Earth was handed pennies while fueling trillion-dollar industries. Not anymore. And here's the twist. Western tech giants, the same companies that built their empires on cheap Congolese supply, are suddenly caught off guard. Their choice is simple: invest in the DRC's future or pay the premium price. The DRC isn't just supplying the future anymore, it's building it, shaping it, and demanding the respect it has always deserved. Chapter 10. Zimbabwe's Chrome Revolution. For years, Zimbabwe, one of the world's top chrome producers, watched its wealth slip away. Raw chrome was shipped out cheap, foreign industries turned it into billion-dollar products, and the nation that mined it was left with scraps. But that era just ended. In a decisive move, Zimbabwe banned the export of raw chrome. No more fire sale prices, no more giving away the real value. From now on, the processing, the smelting, and the manufacturing stay home. The goal is clear: build industries inside Zimbabwe, create jobs for its people, and finally claim a larger slice of the global chrome market. And make no mistake, this isn't about some obscure mineral. Chrome is the backbone of stainless steel, specialty alloys, and countless advanced technologies. It's strategic, it's powerful, and Zimbabwe knows it. By shutting the door on raw exports, Zimbabwe is flipping the script. It's no longer just a supplier, it's a producer, a competitor, and a gatekeeper. The government is investing in local plants, training workers, and ensuring that the wealth created by chrome stays in Zimbabwe before it reaches the world. The shockwaves are already being felt. Western companies that once depended on a steady stream of cheap Zimbabwean chrome are now scrambling, facing higher prices, tighter supplies, and broken supply chains. But this story is bigger than chrome. It's about Africa's awakening. It's about nations rising to take control of their destiny, saying enough to being exploited, and setting new terms for the future. Zimbabwe's stand is more than economics. It's sovereignty. It's justice. It's Africa's voice growing louder on the world stage. It's not just about money. It's about dignity. It's about power. It's about fairness. Zimbabwe's stand isn't an isolated story. It's a spark in a continent-wide fire. 10 African nations have now stepped forward, refusing to play the old game and demanding a new deal. They're not simply tweaking supply chains. They're rewriting the rules of the global economy itself. For too long, Africa was treated as nothing more than a warehouse of raw materials, feeding the growth of richer nations while its own people were left behind. But that chapter is closing fast. From chrome to cobalt, from oil to cocoa, Africa is declaring, our resources will fuel our own future first. And the impact? Western industries are reeling, prices are rising, supplies are tightening. The old dependency model is collapsing before our eyes. This moment is about more than economics. It's about independence, about reclaiming control after centuries of exploitation. Africa is no longer content to be the silent supplier. It is stepping onto the world stage as a producer, a partner, and a power in its own right. The question now is this: will Western nations learn to respect Africa's sovereignty and build true partnerships? Or will they cling to a system that was never fair to begin with? What do you think? Will they come begging for the very resources they once took for granted? And why do you believe they resist sharing power instead of embracing partnership? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your perspective. And if you believe Africa's story deserves to be heard, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell, and join us as we uncover more powerful shifts reshaping the world. This isn't just news, it's history in the making. Stay tuned.